Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Barrens Chat podcast. I'm Sod, and with me tonight is my co-host Guck. This is a podcast about World of Warcraft by two guys who play it. Tonight we have a special announcement. We will be starting a live show Thursday the 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Guck's Twitch, twitch.tv/GuckyMan. We'd also appreciate if you could rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts. And you can get in contact with us at baronschatpod@gmail.com or on Twitter at baronschatpod. Or you can get in contact with each of us at SaudiLOL or at GuckyMan. Guck, big announcements today in the WoW universe. A lot of updates coming to retail. The patch 8.3 content release was announced. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, so what I'm mostly excited about with this 8.3 release is just the fact that it's a wealth of new content. Just like any major patch, there's the main thing, which is going to be the raid. I'm incredibly excited for this raid. It looks stunning. It's going to be featured around Nyalotha with obelisks and pyramids and this like purple-black aesthetic. It looks really good. I'm really excited for the raid just by itself, right? Because any person... if you play WoW, any WoW player acknowledges that the new patch with the new raid, that's enough content already. But aside from that, we got a few things that I find to be really, really important for high-end players, or at least above average players. The two things that stood out to me were A, the possibility of Titan forging being removed, with the specific caveat that Ian Hesychosis included was to provide greater value and correlate the eye level of the gear with the difficulty of the content, which is something that people have been dying for. It's essentially, Titan Forging is essentially a system that makes LFR relevant. You can run LFR as a Mythic Raider because Titan Forging applies to any item that drops for you. So getting rid of that system eliminates a lot of the unnecessary grinding that people end up going through by providing an appropriate item level cap to the appropriate difficulty, which is something that the game needs. So that's one of the big things in 8.3 that I'm excited for. They didn't say that there would be a specific change, but the change is coming. And the second thing that I'm really excited for is the Season 4 10 plus for Mythic Keystone affixes. So this new affix will essentially allow you to drop into the N'Zoth dimension where there are old god kind of guardians and warriors littered about your normal dungeon, but in that kind of dark plane. And essentially what you can do is you can fight some of these N'Zoth elites and move through the Shadow World and then kind of take a portal out beyond somewhere in the standard dungeon. So whenever you enter a portal, you go into a different dimension. Whenever you leave a portal, you re-enter the standard dimension wherever that portal exists on the map. So it allows you to skip content in dungeons without a rogue. And this is something that could really, really help Mythic Plus because everyone's dissatisfied with the static nature of group compositions in Mythic Plus groups. It's just like the same thing. Lately, you'll see some Brewmaster tanks kind of coming in to take the spot of Prot Warriors, but it's Prot Warrior, Rogues, a Resto Druid, and then maybe a Windwalker or an Unholy DK or something like that for the DPS. But that's been it. So those two things, aside from the raid, are something, like those two things really give me hope about the future of retail WoW. What were any of the specific things that you got out of the content release that you think are going to be, at least worth checking out?
Yeah, definitely the raid. So, like, I'm obviously gonna have to get on retail and get my stuff up to date once I'm satisfied with where I'm at in Classic. Uh, so that I mean, I'm definitely pumped up for that. The new heritage armor for Worgen and Goblins, the new allied races, which are cool. They get people excited, but that's all cosmetic stuff. I mean, really, like that just reminds me of like Fortnite, right? It's like people have microtransactions in Fortnite, and they get cosmetic stuff to make them look cool. It adds content to the game. There are definitely a lot of people that like having multiple races and multiple achievements to go after, and that's cool that there's something there for them, but that doesn't really do anything for me. Uh, the raid tier should be cool, and that's pretty much what I'm most looking forward to. I mean, the Titan forging system, we'll see what happens when they come up with like a concrete plan and announce it. But until then, I'm not going to be too excited about it.
Yeah, I'm shocked that you didn't bring up the number one cosmetic item. At least I think it's cosmetic. I don't find these allied races to be that kind of instrumental to your gameplay. 8.3 brings furries. You can finally roll as a horde if you're exalted with the Voldenai. You can unlock with a simple quest chain the what they're called, the Voldoon. What's the how do we refer to the Volpera, right? The Volpera, yeah. You get to be a foxkin.
A foxkin, yes. The mount that you got in Suramar, you can now ride on. I mean, you can now play as in a smaller version that stands on 2 feet.
Yeah, if you have the Lothian Prowler from Legion and you're a Volpera, you're a fox on a fox, and you can go to Goldshire if you want to deal with the the guards there and get all of your RPing needs. But yeah, I personally I think the Worgen hat's a little silly, but I think that's the point. Like they want to have a silly hat. And yeah, I mean the Goblin Heritage armor actually looks pretty good. I thought the rockets on the shoulders look really good.
What is the unlock for Mecha Gnomes? Is it exalted with Mechagon?
Yeah, Exalted with Mechagon. I think it's Exalted and then maybe some part of the story quest line, but everyone would have completed it along the way to get Exalted. So yeah, it's just kind of like your standard Mechagon content.
Yeah, I don't think I'm exalted. I don't think I'm gonna get exalted. So I guess I'm out on that.
That's a shame. That's a damn shame, dude.
Yeah. Oh, silly cosmetic rewards.
So those two features that I talked about at the beginning, I think those are the important ones. The balancing to Mythic Plus and the balancing potentially to Titan Forging gear. So outside of that, I don't really know what else to expect out of 8.3. I mean, what are you kind of expecting? I think people are gonna sign in, play the raid a couple times, and then sign out.
Yeah, the systems are still in place and they still are what they are. So I think you're right. I think it's going to be, patch day, and for a couple weeks after, you're going to see a spike in the player base, and then everybody's going to go back to whatever they were doing. Um, I do kind of want to be into retail, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm still enjoying Classic. I'm enjoying that I don't have to log on to Classic every day to maintain relevance, which I think is great. And as of right now, it's still going to be my main game, but I am going to get on retail. I am going to try to get one of my characters relevantly geared to push heroic Nizoth. We'll see what happens. That's all tentative, right? I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to commit that kind of time right now. I'm already struggling to commit time to Classic, and I want to play that. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I can see people coming back and being satisfied even with just a normal run if you're just trying to kind of see what's going on. Like running normal N'Zoth, like, okay, this is the end of the expansion essentially. Because that's really what it is. There's going to be a 8.3.5, but that won't really bring any more closure than 8.3. I think the end of 8.3 is going to really kind of wrap it up. We might have a couple more side missions, but like it's going to be done.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, this is the final big content release of Battle for Azeroth. Within less than a month, we'll have an announcement from Blizzard on what the new expansion is. And, there's definitely a lot to be excited about with Retail WoW for sure. And there's a lot of speculation that, the phase 2 of Classic is going to come out soon. So there's a lot to be excited about with just Blizzard in general right now, and we'll see where they take it. I think, we have a lot to look forward to, and it's a good time to be a fan of WoW.
Yeah, it's certainly a really good time to be a WoW fan. That was how Ian kind of led into his spiel, And it's just so clear that yeah, that's been the theme really of this whole year. The hype for Classic, the release of Classic, and then now potentially the revival of retail. Because I mean, yeah, everyone admits that BFA is probably the worst expansion that they've done, but no one really thinks that retail has been good since probably Mop. You know, I'd say that's where most people are kind of like gray as to whether they think, WoW was good. And then after Mop, I think the general consensus is that retail went just straight downhill. So a revival in retail would be really good. It would be amazing to see the RNG go down, the difficulty to reward ratio being more aligned. You don't want to see high rewards for low difficulty content. It devalues the game, and that's I think a large part of why retail has been devalued. But yeah, like it's really an optimistic time to think about what WoW could be, right? Because we've got Classic. Classic has an infinite amount of possibilities. Do they do Classic into TBC, into Wrath? That's a lot of content. Do they do something that's like a Classic Plus where they design content that like maybe was left on the cutting room floor of vanilla development and they somehow work it into Classic and continue to add on to it, kind of like Jagex does with RuneScape, old school RuneScape? That my personal favorite opinion. That would be the best. So yeah, like there are just so many options.
Yeah, and I mean, I think really like for you and I, and probably for most of our audience, like that's probably what mostly that is relevant for retail with us. I think cool announcement is you got 60 this week in Classic, and you and I both entered Molten Core. You for the first time, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was incredible. I think the fact that all in like the same day, I dinged 60 and walked into Molten Core. Like that was epitome WoW Classic goals for me. Like I wanted to, in a quick way, get through to 60 and get into a raid environment and start getting those perps. Because like that's the name of the game, dude. I wanted to know that with my limited retail experience that I could execute at a high enough level in Classic, and I fully feel like I did it. I'm floating around 400 gold, so I'm leagues away from my epic mount, but I feel like I've accomplished something significant.
I think like I'm 58. I'm a bar away from 59. I went Molten Core with you last night as well. It was, it was a lot of fun. It was a little slow. I think like you and I both joined a guild, and obviously we're not going to name the guild in here, but very disorganized, which was a huge red flag for me. I'm sure it was a huge red flag for you. Started late, big red flag for me. I hate that. I like to have my time useful. A lot of time in between pulls, people porting, people needing to be summoned. A lot of red flags for me. That being said, the guild did kill 4 bosses on their first raid. A handful of new people, and there are quite a few new people, I think, just from listening to the Discord. And it's just one of those things where, like, we've talked about it on this podcast. Like, if you're gonna run a guild, you're responsible for 39 other people's times. Like, you probably have a large officer corps, which this guild had. Delegate responsibilities. Make sure everybody's ready to go when they get there. That way the polls start, because it's going to be really hard to keep your guild together if it's not organized and run well. And I definitely noticed that last night with our run for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I was talking to one of our friends about the experience, and I summarized it in a pretty succinct way, and it kind of goes to show what I want in a raid. Um, One of the things that I thought was really nice, though, was they let people in, guildies that were 58 or 59. They let people go in, and, I think that's good to get people exposed, worked into the gear, or not worked into the gear, but worked into the team, and to learn how the team distributes gear, so kind of worked into the gear system. But I just, here's exactly how I summarized it. They aren't funny, they aren't good, and they aren't organized, so there's really not a significant reason to stay. The major reason, we managed to, like Saad mentioned, I ding 60, and boom, we got into a raid, and we're going to get 2 chances at or I will at least get 2 chances. Sod, I don't think is going to make it to the second raid. Um, we're going to get 2 chances of molten core loot, whereas before finding a guild like this, we would have had 0 chances. So it's fine. Main spec free roll on loot is like exactly what I expected this week. I don't really expect to get anything, but just getting the chance at it makes me feel like I'm just that many, I'm one more week ahead. I'm that many more rolls ahead on my, potential to get raid loot.
Yeah, I think a huge problem for you and I is that we're playing the two most played classes in Classic WoW, and like there was like 9 mages in that run last night, and a ton of mage gear dropped, a ton of cloth dropped, and
It was all cloth
yeah,
and
it was
leather
just
last night, and like one mail
so many
piece.
people rolling. I mean, I didn't get loot. I didn't expect loot. I was 58. They did let me roll. I just wasn't fortunate enough to win the roll. But it it was cool to be in there. It kind of sucks that like all my spells get resisted because I'm under leveled, but I definitely appreciate the fact that I was getting very minimal experience in Molten Core, like as far like for my XP bar, but I was getting rep, which can mean stuff, and I was just getting experience on my character, which was cool, and just to have the shot at getting gear that could potentially be my best in slot and mean I don't have to worry about that for the rest of the phase, which would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think, however we end up doing it, we're probably not going to commit to this guild, but however we end up doing it, we're going to be competing with a lot of other mages, a lot of other warriors. We've got a rogue buddy. We've got another mage buddy. These people are all going to be dealing with high class volumes and a lot of competition for roles. So anything that drops is going to be welcome. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to running this week? Because this week we're gonna have, like you mentioned at the top, a live show on Thursday. So on Thursday we'll probably have like one of us playing in the background as some B-roll, or we'll just have our webcams on or something. What instances, what content are you looking to run this week?
So first and foremost, I'm looking forward to dinging 60. I'm gonna play for a little bit tomorrow. Try to chunk 59 down as much as I can, and I will probably get 60 this weekend, which is gonna be awesome. I am about halfway through my Onyxia attunement. I was very fortunate to get into an Upper Blackrock Spire run, so I'm looking forward to getting attuned for Onyxia and just having that out of the way. And then the only attunement I have to worry about is in Phase 3 in BWL. So I'm pumped for that. I'm pumped to do strat. You and I ran live strat the other day and saw a ton of righteous orbs, which is like ridiculous. I don't think either of us won any of the rolls, which is incredibly unlucky, but saw another BOE epic drop in that live strat. Didn't win it, but that's 5 before 60, which is crazy numbers. And I'm just looking forward to kind of chilling and just dinging 60 and just being stress free, being able to feel like I can sit in the city and I'm not wasting time, work on my professions, get my fishing up. It's at 1 right now. I haven't worked on it at all. Get my cooking up. I need to get first aid up because I mean you've seen it. Sometimes we're in dungeons. I might need to throw a bandage on myself, and I don't have any because I haven't done first aid at all. I've been focused on tailoring, so I'm looking forward to doing that little side stuff that you don't have to do for the leveling process, but I've put off, and it's definitely helpful and necessary and good for my character economically as well.
Yeah, I'm feeling really glad that I did that along the way, because at this point, I cook my own raid food, I fish my own raid food, I, can mine my own mats to eventually have a guild blacksmith make me my Lionheart helm. I can provide for myself at this point. I've got max first aid, so in raid I can bandage myself if, something stupid happens. Everything that I've done so far has really kind of helped out. I haven't gotten into maxing my engineering yet. I'm going to wait on doing that. It's going to kind of continue passively until I absolutely need something from engineering because it's been pretty expensive. And I mean, obviously, I'm doing it for the PvP utility, and there's not really a lot of PvP potential right now in Phase 1. So, I'm just kind of cruising by with the stuff that I have. I'm not going crazy. I'm not going to the auction house to buy rage pots. I actually don't even really have my elixirs and pre-pots and anything for these pulls because my gear is just not ever going to be competitive. I have at best 40% of the pre-raid best in slot and none of the essential items. So my hit chance is very low, my damage is very low on these items. There's a lot of stuff that just like isn't worth boosting, so I'm not going to waste the money on it, especially when I don't have my epic mount. Um, so yeah, I'm stressed for money, but I don't feel like I'm behind on anything aside from money. I know, Sod, you feel like you might be a little bit behind on professions, but where are you in terms of money? You're about where I'm at, right?
Yeah, I have like 400 gold, so you and I are pretty much in the same spot. We still have Blood Razor, which we haven't sold, and that'll be about like 30 gold a piece, but um, I'm not overly concerned about it economically. Like I log on and if I dedicate a day to play and I make like 50 gold, so and I that's like just passive income, like selling grays and stuff like that. So I'm gonna spend a little bit of money when I'm 60, but like it's not gonna be anything crazy. So I think unlike original vanilla WoW, I will have my epic mount in classic, and hopefully sooner rather than later. I think too what I'm looking forward to a lot is leveling an alt and just kind of like chilling and leveling an alt and like doing it while it's rested, and then when the rest is gone, just kind of sitting in and maybe getting back to it when I have some free time, like just casually playing a second character.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something that I did, I think, in like the early 50s, late 40s, when I was starting to feel a little bit burnt out of leveling. And I think it was largely due to just the volume of ZF runs that I did. Like the Zul'Farrak farm was just so long and strenuous. But at this point, I'm actually really looking forward to going back to that grind. I'm really looking down at like my pre-raid BIS list, and four of the drops that I need come from Upper Blackrock Spire. So that's like the one instance this week that I really want to make sure I get into. Outside of that, I'm still kind of banging out these quest drops because there's like certain quest drop items that are just absolutely great for you. Namely, the trinket that I'm gonna get from the Onyxia quest line. That one, I think it's called Blackhand's Breath, something like that. That's going to be a huge add-in. That's something I get just through doing the Onyxia attunement, which Sod, you mentioned. That's the other thing that I want to make sure I get through this week. Upper Blackrock Spire and the Onyxia attunement. I think if I do that, I'll be feeling set. Then we bank another week of tier 1 potentially. It's just awesome. This has been a great week for Classic.
Oh yeah, it's so awesome. It's so much fun, and like we're gonna stay in our guild for now, and hopefully find a good community to join, and then if not, other opportunities will arise. Hopefully, but I'm absolutely loving classic, everything that it entails. I love that I don't fall behind, and I'm just ready to commit to a full on raid schedule. Like the guild right now raids super late. That's like really hard for me, so I have to like time naps throughout the day to make it through the end of the raid. But it was a lot of fun to be in there and re-experience like something really cool and have a shot at loot. I think it's like because one of the situations that arose last night with the loot was the guild leader announced that Shadow Priest could roll on a cloth drop, for DPS. And I was just thinking, and I messaged you about it. I'm like, man, this guy's letting Shadow Priest roll. Like, that's a bold move. Like, this guild's new. Obviously, most guilds are new, right? A lot of guilds that are raiding right now weren't pre-established before WoW, and I'm like, it's really important that you get this gear to the right people. I think it's also really cool that the guild is doing slash rolls instead of loot council, like trying to establish like a player base and like a community, and then probably doing loot council later. But like, man, if a Shadow Priest wins that over like one of your top tier mages or warlocks, like that'd be a huge problem for you. I mean, yeah, Shadow Priests are important, but they're like the last people to get caster gear. Like, it's really important with 3 drops per 40 people per boss. It takes a long time to gear out your entire raid, so you really don't want to waste an item. I think running a guild and leading it, you have to really establish your rules and eliminate any confusion early on. I think that would have been a huge mistake, and I think they were really fortunate that the a lot of the loot, it just so happened to work out, went to officers and people with the raider rank already. So I'm assuming people that have already established themselves in the guild, which is huge. And I think to attract people, you probably have to slash roll. So it's just really lucky for the guild that we're in right now. And I think any guild starting to establish themselves probably have to do slash rolls. So any guild just has to get really lucky going forward at least starting off until they build their community and establish themselves.
Yeah, I think to your point, the guilds that aren't actively recruiting right now are probably guilds that were fully formed off of a private server and came to whichever server they're on as a full group with a pre-formed raid group with people already intended to do things on specific days at specific times. So any guild that you're going to get into early in Classic, it's probably, yeah, like Saz said, a new guild with a core of people that are probably just, friends, maybe just people that play WoW together or even just people that leveled together. Their connections may be tenuous. The connections to the raiders will be tenuous. It's not going to be a super stable raid environment for Phase 1 unless you get kind of lucky and get kind of the right guild. I would say for Phase 1, don't be afraid to hop. That's something that I'm going to try to. That's some advice that I'm going to try to take for myself. I'm not going to be afraid of hopping to try and find a good enough guild because there's not going to be a perfect guild, but you should hop until you find a good enough guild. Like I was saying before, like your guild needs to have something. They have to either be good, they have to be well organized, or they have to be funny. Like you have to enjoy some aspect of the raid, either the fact that it's a well-oiled machine and like people know what they're doing, and maybe you guys are struggling because you're not all geared, but it's at least working as it should. You could have a lot of people who are super good that are geared as fuck, and you guys just like bang through content, but everyone's like autistic and quiet on the mics and no one says anything. Like whatever, that's fine for some people. Or you can have a raid guild that, they're not that great, but everyone's laughing, everyone's enjoying it. Like any one of those three aspects is enough to make a raid worth it, and you don't want to be taking part in a raid guild that has none of those three aspects.
Yeah, definitely pay attention to the red flags. Like for me, obviously I stated my red flags earlier, and the fact that we also had a guy in our guild that I think he was a new recruit. I don't think the main core knew who he was, but he kept like talking over the raid leaders, like, "Oh, we should do this, we should do that." Do not be that guy. If you are new to a guild, just keep your mouth shut. Do as you're told. It's like being new to any job that you go to, being new to any team that you go on. Like, try to feel out the atmosphere before you just try to insert your opinion. Like, I know better than you. All right, let these people who are in charge figure it out. And if the guild isn't for you, just get out. Don't be that guy, because a lot of people are gonna not like you, and it's a lot of people that could have been your friends beforehand, if like before you shot your mouth off without knowing the structure in the guild.
Very true. Very true. I would say another aspect of this, it being classic, being polite and knowing how to navigate the social circumstance of guild hopping well is going to be important. Like, don't burn bridges. The people in your 40-man groups might dissolve and form groups later down the line in other phases, and they could be the leaders of guilds that you want to be a part of later. So, if you're guild hopping, if you're deciding what to do, be courteous, be kind, don't be an idiot. Handle things like a true gentleman.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So I think that was our last week. Like, I dinged 60. We rated. Today was huge. Today there was a huge announcement in retail. We got that video from Ian, and Wowhead. There's a lot of screenshots that got data mined out. So if you're looking for some visual content, go ahead and check out Wowhead's 8.3 patch analysis. What's the 8.3 patch name? Visions of Nazoth?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, or it could be like the new land. But there's a ton to be excited about right now. If you're into World of Warcraft, if you're into Blizzard games. There's a lot to be excited about right now about World of Warcraft, uh, and and BlizzCon's in less than a month, so there's even more to be excited about. So enjoy that.
Yeah, that was something that I forgot to mention. BlizzCon's coming up, so that's huge. I heard that Phase Two's release time is slated to be before the end of the year, so that's huge. And people may have forgotten, Warcraft 3 Reforged comes out before Christmas of this year.
I'm so pumped up for that. You can't even understand how pumped up I am for Warcraft 3.
Yo, I'm super excited. I never that was one game that I just like skipped over in my childhood and I wholly regret it. I where was I in the Blizzard world? I came in for Diablo 2. And before that I was playing like Valve games. I was playing Half-Life and Counter-Strike 1.6. That was my kind of computer shit, and I just missed a lot of really good strategy games outside of Age of Empires. That was like the one classic game that I always had, but I never got Warcraft, and I wish I did, dude.
Yeah, so like just like the effect that Warcraft 3 had on me as like a young child or teenager, I guess. I was in like middle school. I was playing in a range team with one of my friends, and I'll never forget this team comp. We played against a team whose one guy's name was Our Savior and the other guy's name was Jesus Christ. And I have laughed at that to this day every time I remember it. And it's made me fall in love with Warcraft because it's just one of those funny things where, people find these play on words in their teams, and it's just really cool to see. And I love that game. I played it a ton when I was on dial-up internet, and I'm looking forward to playing it on like a good PC. I still play like Warcraft 3 now every now and again, but it's a lot of bots online, so you don't really get the same quality of game.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same thing with all old Blizzard games. It's great that they continue the servers. Like you can still get on and play a Diablo 2 character if you want, but there are also going to be a ton of level 1 bots trying to sell you runes and third-party services and nonsense like that. I think it's worth it, dude. Honestly, being able to play those games still today, just for the sake, like just at the cost of dealing with the spammy shit, I think that's worth it.
Yeah, I mean that's all I got. You got anything?
Um, no, I think that's it. Like, remember to check us out on Thursday, the 10th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/GuckyMan. We're going to be doing our inaugural live show, hoping it's a good one. But, you guys will be there for the shit show or for the greatness that ensues. Either way.